Right guys, are we ready? Now's our chance to finally go ahead and tackle that pesky vest. Okay, so just let me explain really what I'm kind of looking for here. It's always a good idea to sort of establish what the look is that I'm going for before we actually start to work on it. Essentially, I'm thinking about the material of the vest primarily is going to be somewhere of a halfway house between what the shirt's made out of and what the gloves are made out of. Okay, so it's not going to be leather, it's not going to be cotton per se, it's going to be slightly thicker cotton. Okay, so it's just going to be kind of thick is the best way I can describe it. Okay, now I've gone ahead and scoured the internet for some additional references. Okay, so this is what I've brought to play for today, and there's just extra references there. So, but if we look at the vest here, for instance, there's a lot of nice designs that we've got going on here, but there's all one major tangent that I can see across all of this here, is that there's not a lot of folds. Okay, obviously a vest is made out of thicker material, it's not going to be full of folds, so we're not looking anywhere along the level of what we've done for the vembraces or what we've done for the shirt or the trousers for that fact. Okay, so it's going to be more along the lines of what we did for the boots, for instance. Okay, so it's going to be light folds depending upon the material that we're going to make. Now there's a couple of things here that I have thought about, and I've just been debating backwards and forwards basically, but as to whether or not the back here should actually basically be the same as this reference image here. I'm just going to move this to always on top mode. Okay, so I don't know whether or not I want the back to have these folds there in terms of how it's tied together. It could be quite nice, but I'm just going to leave it standard for now, but that's just something I wanted to share with you there. Now the vest I'm most inspired by is this one here. I like the styling of how this is being done. I like how the clasps have been done. That's kind of the idea I borrowed there. So a lot of the vests will have this trim around it, going around it. Okay, and so similar what we did with the top surface of this vambrace here, we will try to mimic and do with the overall vest itself. Okay, so what have I brought today in terms of reference? I've brought those images, but I've also brought another one, which is this one here. It's a very simple standard red vest, and that's what I'm going to be using to focus on for the folds at the moment. So you can see there just around the breast area, that's what we're going to tackle first. That's a good place to start. And that is not always on top as well, so let's move it to always on top. Okay, right, so hopefully I've explained it clearly enough, so let's go ahead now and we'll dive into it. Okay, so let's get rid of the mask that's already present there. We'll solo it out a little bit just so we can see what we're focusing on, and the first thing we'll do is we'll subdivide it. Okay, so that's already smoothed those edges there, no problems, that's fine. And if we divide it again, yeah, that's still fine, no problem. Okay, it's always good to check. So what we're going to do, let's take our standard brush, weak intensity, and we'll just start over here. We'll follow this kind of line here. We'll just do a great big old kind of cut, well not cut, but big stroke in there to really sort of start us off, something like that. Okay, and we'll do the same here, because of course as the folds get away from the breast where it's tight, it's going to get loose back here as well. Okay, so that's what these kind of first couple of strokes represent there, and we just got to replicate that on the other side as well. We can be a bit fancier this time. We can do a smaller one here, let's have a bigger one there, and we can do a slightly bigger one down here as well. Okay, smooth it out just to see the effects. So already there, that's created quite a nice looking effect there. Okay, so maybe that's a bit too much. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we'll do that similar here just to get that sort of started. There we go. So already, just by adding in those little bits there, we've got quite a lot of detail in the folds there already. We've got a nicer refined shape now. That was as you know, quite a big contentious point for me. The next part I'm going to do is the parts up here, so I'm just going to isolate this area here. I don't know what that glitch is there. I think it is just part of the underside there. That's fine. Yes, I shouldn't get in the way, but just so we can see what it looks like, let's go to display properties and we'll hit double, and that's what we can see there. Okay, never mind, that's fine. So what I just want to do here, turn double off, is just essentially just do some strokes there like this as well. Okay, so again, it's all being quite tight around the breast area. A lot of these folds are going to be kind of emerging from the kind of breast area here, because that's the tightest part of the garment. Okay. Okay, you can carry that across as well. Just be fast and loose with this stage of this process at the moment. And if you imagine there's a clip underneath here, it's going to cause some tension there as well. So it's going to kind of just bring out a little bit there as well. Okay, so just some very light surface tension there, and you can smooth that away as well. Okay. So we've caught the other areas as well in that kind of process, but that's not a big deal because they've got the upper surfaces as well. Okay, no worries there. Right, a couple of little things here. Let's just smooth this area out. We don't need to address that area just yet. A couple of parts we want to do. So around here, it's where her stomach is. It's going to be quite loose. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just with my... Yes, I'll stick with my standard brush here. I'm just going to do some horizontal with sort of diagonal sweeps, kind of going around her stomach area here. So just using the inverse and just kind of, again, creating almost randomized strokes in this general direction, just to convey the wrapping of the vest, so to speak. And down here, I'm going to continue this point of tension here as well. Okay, and you can also do that on this side as well. It will be pulling on both sides. And then let's maybe do a little bit of looseness around here. And I'm using the inverse at the moment of the standard brush. I'm not using the primary, I was going to say primary fire there, but the primary form of the standard brush, the usual form, which is to increase volume and kind of decreasing it there. Okay. There we go. Alright, so we haven't done much per se in terms of the strokes that we've put in there, but we've kind of given ourselves a bit of a guideline, a bit of a chance to see what we've created so far and whether or not it's any good. Now, the last thing I want to do here before I move on to any more folds is just make sure that the innermost layers are behaving themselves. They can sometimes get a little bit kind of carried away. So let's just go ahead with the Move Topological brush now and make sure we tuck in those interior areas there. Okay, it just happens sometimes as we've been pushing and pulling on the poor old vest. Okay, so it's bound to happen. So just check on these particular areas. It can be tricky to grab the inner layer from the outside, but that's why we're using the Move Topological brush, because it does allow us to do that a bit more easily. There we go. Okay, essentially we're not fussed at what it looks like on the inside, we're only caring about what it looks like on the outside right about now. And any other potential contention points up here? Yes, looks like. Just slightly with the kind of purple layer underneath. Right, okay, we'll kind of address them as we come across them. Now, what about the back? Well, before we get round to the back, let's stick with the sides for now. Okay, you can see we've got some areas here. We're just going to carry them down round as well. So the back is generally going to be horizontal lines going across, roughly something like this. Okay, it's just not going to be much going on here. It's just going to be mostly horizontal lines kind of going across one instance and then kind of hitting across the other like that. That's essentially what the back's going to be, because the back is also quite a tight area in comparison to other areas of the clothing. Okay, so the back is actually quite a simple part of this garment there. Okay, but what is less simple, however, is this part here, because again we've got this slack here as well, so we're going to have some slack from where this element of the clothing is there. We're going to have a lot of slack around just around the back side, well, the underside of her armpits as well, and the back of her shoulders. Okay, we're just going to have some looseness there. This is a good idea to just generate that now. You can actually see that the ZBrush, when you put some kind of standard brush strokes in there, it kind of naturally falls away almost, because it almost knows that's where the slack is going to be. Okay, it's a bit of slack in our actual topology and mesh there, so it's kind of easy to do that point there. And just do a couple of vertical lines down, and yeah, okay, we're starting to get a decent idea for what it looks like now. Hopefully you can sort of see that as well. Okay. So let's put it back on our character, and we can see that the vest, although minor, we've done some good work so far. Right, now the shirt is getting in the way, so we're going to have to tuck the shirt out the way once again. This time I'm definitely going to favour the vest rather than the shirt. That has been a bit of a dilemma for us before, but I think the vest will now simply take precedence over the shirt in every circumstance. Okay. Okay. Right, so hopefully you can see that coming together quite nicely now. Okay. Another thing, just to kind of trim up some areas, literally, with the trim dynamic brush, any kind of big, round, bulbous areas, do try and keep them in line. We do want this to look quite lean and quite tight, especially around the breast area. So if you've got any thick, chunky sausage bits, do just kind of tidy them up now, nice and early, before we progress any further. Woo! Don't want to pull on that upper part, though. Okay. I think what's worth doing on this side as well is just a few little strands kind of going up there as well. There we go. Because we've got this kind of big mass area here. So we just want the breasts to be protruding on basically this front part. This part, if I was to draw like a heat map as to how tight this area should be, you're probably going to see a lot of heat around there, and as it kind of goes away from the masked area, it's going to get looser and looser. Okay, fabulous. Right. Okay, so now let's have a look at what the bigger picture here, and again we want to stay quite far away from the mesh itself, but we're going to come in and basically commit to some of these folds now. Okay, so a bit further away from the mesh, use your standard brush and just start committing to some of the folds. And as you're further away, you can start to see which folds are suitable, which ones look right, and which ones start to look a little bit suspicious and a little bit unrealistic. So the further you are away from your mesh, the more kind of realistic folds you can hope to achieve at this particular stage in time. Okay, so just keep quite far away from it. You don't have, not all the way over here, but just good enough distance just so you can start to inform your folds somewhat correctly. And just basically let the ones that we've just penciled in now, just follow them. Let them kind of do the work as we almost did with the Marvelous Designer folds. So we basically given ourselves, we painted in those base Marvelous Designer folds. So let them do the work. Just follow them and carry them to their extremities. Okay. We've got some folds there. That's fine. So we got one we could sort of meet up there, no problem. So for a complicated point like this, we can actually use this to opportunity to create one of these X folds. Okay, so let's just do that here. They're always nice to sort of create and have. Okay, and just let's interrupt the currently scheduled stroking patterns to use the damn standard brush, and we'll just come in here and just help define that X a little bit more, so we don't forget about it. Okay, right, now back to our regularly scheduled stroke program. Okay, right, so this area here, can't really see because of the straps that we've got going across it, but it should still be underneath there, so it's important to keep it there. Okay. And we've got that mostly covered, but let's just continue on. Okay, we're just going to leave that there like that. It looks a little bit strange at the moment because we haven't got any edges there, but we will have some edges there soon. Okay, remember I'm going to keep that area open because I'm going to have an edge lining all the way around the vest. So that's what that's going to be there. So I could just turn it into a Y fold there. That's okay. That's all right. Okay. So this area here, yes, we got one coming down there. Okay, we'll probably have a few sort of, we'll have something there where the belt, it's kind of sitting over the belt there, so we're going to have one there for sure. Maybe just a few little loosey bits there as well. Okay, let's carry on up here. So you kind of see I'm going almost all over the place, just letting my pen hand guide where I'm going here. Now you might be thinking, well, are we going to have the straps, are we going to have the this big belt here play a part on the vest? Is it going to create folds? No, I don't think so, because it's quite soft and it's not wrapped around tightly enough to do that. This strap, on the other hand, however, yeah, probably will, but I'm not going to do those folds until I'm happy with where that strap is. Okay, so ignoring those straps for now, we'll just keep doing these folds as if the vest was undisturbed by any other element of the garment. Okay, it's the best way I can sort of put that to you. Okay, and it would not change the subdivision level here. We're sticking with the lowest subdivision level still. Okay, right, got a nice fold down there. I can go across all the way around to the back. That's nice. That can go around there. Possibly flow into this part here. Okay. So you can see that you're kind of being guided by the folds you've already placed in there, which is nice. It's very nice to have that happen. You can almost go autopilot that way. Okay. Okay, any bit that looks a little bit kind of tussly, just clean it up a little bit. We want quite clean folds on a garment like this. We don't want a lot of holes and delves and stuff like that. Okay, right, trim dynamic brush. It's time to trim up some of these sausages here. Let's just trim that up a bit. Okay. Okay, that's starting to look a bit better. Any other areas as well? Maybe this X here. Yes, that looks nice. Okay. And maybe this big fold at the back here. Let's really lean into it first with a standard brush. Just push that all the way across. Make it a big, chunky fella. Like so. And then we'll bring the trim dynamic brush and just kind of, there we go. Okay, not bad, not bad. Okay, right, pretty cool. That's already starting to give quite a lot of depth to the vest already. Okay, just having those simple little folds there kind of brings the vest a little bit more to life. All right, hopefully you agree. Now, the other part what we need to do now is we need to tackle collars. Okay, so this collar here at the moment, we need to think about some of these considerations. So what you could do, just to be on the safe side, is any purple area, just mask that off for now, just so that we're dealing with the surfaces of the collars. And so now we've got to do basically the same idea as we were doing earlier, but now we're tackling collars. Okay, so let's go ahead now and let's just do a few. We'll keep it on this low subdivision level. Kind of paint in a few ideas. We're going to have this kind of fold over there be at its highest point on the inside there. The rest of it's going to be quite loose, and that goes for the same for the collar. So anywhere on the outside flap here, it's going to be quite loose compared to any edges or anything like that. So you could just do quite a very loose pass all the way around. Okay, so just a bit of a kind of deflation there, almost using the standard brush like it was the deflate brush here. Okay, just to introduce a little bit of relief change as we go around this collar here. Okay, right, fabulous. Now what we've got to do is let's go over and we'll just, and just this seems a bit strange, but we'll just kind of smooth this out a little bit. So we've got remnants of what we've just done there, but we're going to go up an extra subdivision level, solo this out, and we're going to bring the standard brush down quite small, because we're going to get smaller folds focused here. What do I mean by that? Do you see this kind of strand I've got here? Kind of, it's a bit of a Y shape, very elongated Y shape. What am I going to do with that? I'm going to start from the tip here, just going to come down. I'm just going to make smaller folds like this. So what I'm hoping to do with this is that what you're going to see more prevalently are the smaller fold strokes rather than the bigger fold strokes. So the big strokes that we were doing earlier are kind of just to change the relief of the vest a bit. Okay, but the strokes that we're going to do now are going to be the ones that everyone will see. Okay, so you can kind of be a bit more, you have a bit more freedom with this essentially. Okay, so you could, for example, bring that round there. Okay, so you can see that the smaller folds are being picked up on much more visually than any of those bigger folds that we had earlier. Okay, and that's the idea. So just going through some of the strokes now. You can see there, that's how it's working out. There you go. Okay, and then we've got one here. Now these smaller folds should be longer than the bigger folds. Okay, so feel free to carry them way beyond where the big folds kind of stop. Yeah, these are quite long and thin folds, so feel free to carry it over like that. Okay, that's the best way I can sort of explain to you as to what I'm looking at doing here. And don't forget to change the trajectory of these folds as well. It's important that we keep the random factor there a little bit. We don't want a lot of samey looking folds. Okay. And just keep going with this same idea and mindset. I might introduce another one down there, for instance. Let's do one here. I think that's a bit in conflict, that one, so I'll just undo that one. And let's just smooth that out. Maybe let's do one here. So we can kind of tuck that one up just under the breast line, and then this one could just fade round there. There we go. And some more here. So we're really being guided by the big ones, the big strokes from earlier, but it will be the small ones that kind of stick around rather than the large ones. So okay, so here, critical areas like this, carry them all the way over to the breast, and if they stretch too far, you can always smooth them out of existence. So okay, sorry for the lack of commentary, but you can just kind of see what's happening here. It's easier to have a look at what's happening rather than me to try and explain it to you. And again, I cannot help but sing the praises of the Polyskin material here. Is really helping out to see all the different ones we've just kind of penciled in the large folds there, because without that kind of shine and gloss to this material, it would be very difficult to see just what we were doing earlier. I remember back in the day working without the Polyskin material, and it was very difficult to find such a nice material that really just kind of worked. That really did just work. Okay, let's turn our attention to the back here. Nearly there. Keep going, just a little bit more. So I'm just constantly switching between my stroking and the smooth brush. Okay, right, so let's pull back a little bit, let's have a look. So we've got quite a lot of folds in there now. Inevitably we end up always doing too much, so what we're going to do now is just basically bring it all back, and let's just have a look at some of the ones we're going to just smooth away a little bit. Okay, so any ones we're just going to sort of smooth away a little bit. I think, actually let's just undo it at this level. Just undo all that, because I just realized smoothing it in this way kind of just destroys a lot of the work we did. Let's go to another subdivision level and we'll smooth it now. So there we go. Because we don't necessarily want to get rid of their presence, we just want to heighten how lessen how visible they are. Okay, and of course your trim dynamic brush can also help with this. It will just kind of dull the ends of some of these strokes to make it look like it's just part of the fabric. Like so. There we go. Okay, how's that? Hopefully you've achieved a similar result to what I've just done there. Okay, but hopefully you can also appreciate the fact that it's just very light touches around the area there. Okay, so we've introduced a bit more of a dynamic look to our vest there. Okay, so in the next video we'll carry on with this a little bit, but we'll turn our attention more to the collars and all the other elements rather than just the main section of the vest.